In the small town of Millbrook, nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, there stood an old high school with a history as dark as the shadows that danced along its corridors. Rumors whispered of inexplicable occurrences within its walls, tales of students who vanished without a trace, and eerie sightings of figures lurking in the corners of dimly lit hallways. It was a place where fear lingered like a ghost, haunting those who dared to tread its halls after dark. The legend began with a tragic incident that took place decades ago. A group of students ventured into the abandoned basement of the school, curious to uncover its secrets. But what they found was beyond their darkest nightmares. As they descended deeper into the darkness, strange whispers filled the air, chilling them to the bone. Shadows seemed to move of their own accord, twisting and contorting into sinister shapes. Suddenly, one of the students let out a blood-curdling scream, his voice echoing through the empty corridors above. The others turned to see him frozen in terror, staring at something that lurked in the shadows. It was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen, its eyes gleaming with malice as it crept closer, its movements silent as death itself. With a collective gasp, the group turned and fled, their footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. But not all of them would escape that night. One by one, they were picked off by the unseen terror that pursued them, their screams swallowed by the darkness. Since that fateful night, the basement had been sealed off, deemed too dangerous for students to explore. But whispers persisted of restless spirits trapped within its depths, longing for release. Among the students, there was a sense of unease whenever they passed by the sealed entrance to the basement. Some claimed to hear faint whispers emanating from behind the heavy door, while others swore they saw shadowy figures lurking in the darkness beyond. It was on a cold, moonless night that a group of friends dared each other to explore the forbidden depths of the basement. Fueled by a youthful curiosity and a touch of bravado, they gathered at the entrance, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. With trembling hands, they pushed open the door and descended into the darkness below. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, and their footsteps echoed ominously off the stone walls. As they delved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their flashlights casting feeble beams of light into the inky blackness, they felt a sense of foreboding settle over them like a suffocating shroud. Suddenly, one of the flashlights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Panic-stricken, they fumbled for their phones, using their dim screens to illuminate the path ahead. But the light revealed something far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. Looming before them was a figure shrouded in darkness, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. With a collective gasp, they stumbled backwards, their hearts pounding in their chests. But there was no escape from the nightmare that had been unleashed upon them. The figure advanced slowly, its movements unnaturally fluid as it closed in on them. With nowhere left to run, they huddled together, paralyzed with fear as it reached out with long, gnarled fingers. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving them alone in the darkness once more. Shaken but alive, they fled from the basement, vowing never to return. But the horror was far from over. In the days that followed, strange things began to happen to those who had dared to enter the forbidden depths of the school. They would wake in the dead of night, drenched in sweat and plagued by nightmares of the figure that had haunted their dreams. Some claimed to hear strange noises echoing through the empty halls, while others swore they saw shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision. paranoia consumed them, driving them to the brink of madness. And then, one by one, they began to disappear without a trace, their fate unknown to all but the darkness that lurked within the school's walls. The town was gripped by fear as rumors spread of a malevolent force that preyed upon the students of Millbrook High. Parents kept their children close, warning them never to venture near the school after dark. But despite their warnings, curiosity got the better of some, drawn to the school like moths to a flame. They would sneak onto the grounds under the cover of night, searching for answers to the mysteries that lay within. Among them was a young girl named Emily, whose older brother had vanished without a trace after venturing into the school's forbidden depths. Determined to uncover the truth, she snuck onto the grounds one moonless night, her heart pounding with fear and anticipation. As she crept through the silent corridors, her footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust that coated the floor, she felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if the very walls themselves were watching her every move. Ignoring the sense of unease that gnawed at her insides, she pressed on, guided by a fierce determination to unravel the secrets of the school's dark past. But the deeper she ventured into the heart of the school, the more twisted and labyrinthine the corridors became, until she found herself hopelessly lost in a maze of shadows and echoes. Panic clawed at her throat as she realized she was not alone. Whispers echoed through the darkness, their words too faint to decipher, but filled with a sense of malevolence that sent shivers down her spine. And then she saw it. A figure lurking in the shadows, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. Frozen with fear, she watched as it advanced towards her, its movements silent and predatory. With a trembling hand, she reached for her phone, her fingers fumbling with the screen as she tried to illuminate the darkness. But the light revealed nothing but empty corridors, the figure nowhere to be seen. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure was gone, leaving Emily alone in the suffocating darkness. But she knew she was not safe, not as long as she remained within the school's cursed walls. With a newfound sense of urgency, she turned and fled, her heart pounding in her chest as she raced towards the exit. But the corridors seemed to stretch on endlessly, twisting and turning in on themselves like the tendrils of some malevolent creature. Just when she thought she could go no further, she stumbled into a vast, cavernous chamber unlike anything she had ever seen. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and strange symbols adorned the walls, their meaning lost to time. And then she saw him, her brother, pale and gaunt, chained to the wall like some forgotten prisoner of the darkness. Tears filled her eyes as she rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she fumbled with the chains that bound him. But before she could set him free, a voice echoed through the chamber, chilling her to the bone. "You cannot save him," it whispered, its words dripping with malice. "He belongs to us now." With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Emily turned to see the figure standing before her, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. She knew then that there was no escape from the horror that had claimed her brother's soul. And so, she did the only thing she could. With tears streaming down her face, she turned and fled, leaving her brother behind to face the darkness alone. As she emerged from the school's cursed halls, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty grounds. But Emily knew that the darkness that lurked within the school's walls would never truly be vanquished. For as long as the old high school stood, its halls would echo with the whispers of the restless dead, a reminder of the horrors that lay hidden beneath its crumbling facade. And though the townsfolk would try to forget, to bury the memories of those who had been lost to the darkness, the legend of Millbrook High would live on, a cautionary tale for generations to come. And so, the old high school stood silent and empty, its secrets buried beneath layers of dust and decay. But for those who dared to listen, the whispers of the past still echoed through its halls, a haunting reminder of the horror that had once gripped the town of Millbrook. And as the years passed and the town faded into obscurity, the legend of Millbrook High would become little more than a footnote in the annals of history. But for those who had lived through its horrors, the memories would never fade, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of sight. And so, the old high school stood as a silent sentinel, its crumbling walls a testament to the terror that had once held sway within its halls. And though the town of Millbrook would eventually fade into memory, the legend of its haunted high school would live on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all.